Are you wondering if the Winix 5300-2 air purifier might be the right one for your family? My family owns several Winix air purifiers. We've had them for over a year, and I can tell you some pros and cons that we've found from this particular model. Hi, I'm Cindy from Smart Family Money. I help you learn how to shop smarter, save money, and save time so you can get back to changing the world. My family and I, unfortunately, 3 out of the 4 of us have pretty bad environmental allergies. My allergist recommended that we have air purifiers in our bedroom to help the air when we sleep. We've recently gotten the Winix 5300-2 air purifier, but we've had Winix air purifiers for over a year. This particular model is a very nice, high-quality filter. I think it does a great job filtering the air, but there are some pros and cons to it and a couple things that bother me about it. So I'll give you a rundown of all of its features and what I like and don't like about it. So first of all, let's talk about the stages of air filtration that it offers. When I first started looking at air purifiers, I was very confused about how different purifiers had a 3-stage or a 4-stage, 5-stage air filtration. What does that even mean? It just means that different levels of filtration inside of that air purifier. This particular one is a 4-stage. So the first stage is what's called a pre-filter. It's essentially a screen that catches large particles of things in the air, like pet hair or large balls of dust. And its main purpose is to stop those large things from getting into the other filters. For this one, it does recommend in the manual that you vacuum that pre-filter about every 14 days. But I think when you need to clean it is very dependent on how dirty the air in your house is. If you have a dog that sheds constantly, you might want to vacuum it more often. But if you have fairly clean air in your house, you're not going to need to clean it very often. The second stage of filtration in this one is a carbon filter. This particular model has the spongy kind of carbon filter. These are meant to be replaced. They're meant to be disposable and replaced every 3 months throughout the year. And the carbon filter is mostly for removing odors from the air. The third stage of filtration in this model is a HEPA filter. The Winix filters do have true HEPA filters, and the HEPA filter is what's important when you're talking about removing allergens from the air. This is the thing that's going to catch those small particles like pollen and dander and dust and mold, the things that really matter for those of us that are allergy sufferers. The fourth stage of filtration is what Winix calls plasma wave technology. People have a lot of questions about what this even means and is it safe. Plasma wave is Winix's branded name for hydroxyl radical filtration. And if you look up information about hydroxyl radicals, it's a very real thing. It's used in restoration companies use it for removing odors, like when they're trying to remove smoke odors from a building. And it has been shown to be safe around people and animals. A lot of people wonder if it releases ozone into the air. Ozone is a type of filtration that is not safe for humans to be around. But what this is it's releasing charged particles of hydrogen and oxygen. And those charged particles are unstable and they connect with compounds in the air and break them apart and make them into safe particles. Winix claims that this is how nature filters the air. So far, it has been proven to be safe. The other question is that does it release ozone? Well, because there are free oxygen atoms flying around, it is possible that ozone could be formed in there. They aren't specifically releasing ozone, but it is possible that some ozone could be formed. When it has been tested for safety concerns, it has been shown to be a safe level of ozone, but they have not proven that it has zero ozone. So if that's something that really concerns you, especially if you are an owner of birds who are particularly sensitive to ozone, you might want to consider turning the plasma wave feature off. You can turn it off on these models, and it doesn't really affect the function of how the filter works, other than you're just not getting that fourth stage of the plasma wave filtration. So let's take a look at the buttons on the front of it and what they all do. The first button is pretty obvious. It's just the power button. The second one is the mode button. It can change it from auto mode or night mode. Auto mode is what it's running in right now. It'll run most of the time at the low speed, and the light on the front will be blue, indicating that the air in the room is clean. If it detects that there's some sort of odor in the air, it will turn orange or red, and it will turn up the fan to remove that odor from the air, and then it'll go back to blue once it feels like it has removed it. It also has a light sensor on here that it will notice if the room is dark, and it'll turn it into night mode. Night mode is even quieter than the stage 1 that it's in right now, It's so quiet, it's hard to believe it's even running. At first, I didn't think it was doing anything in light mode or in the night mode, but I put my hands near it, I could feel the air moving, and it actually is running just extremely quietly. So let me show you how the auto mode works. Right now, it's blue, showing that there's nothing in the air in here. I'll demonstrate it for you by lighting a large match near it, and you can see what it looks like. So there you go. You see it turned orange because it detected the smoke in the air, and it'll keep running on orange until it feels like it's cleared the smoke out of the air, and it'll turn back to blue again. As you can hear though, even in the second stage of the fan, it's still pretty quiet. The next button on the front is the plasma wave button. And as I talked about, that's just how you can turn the plasma wave feature on and off depending on your preference. The next button on the front is the fan speed. You can press that to manually change the fan speed from high to low and up to turbo. Speaking of the turbo mode does a great job of clearing out the air, but it is very loud. But the turbo mode can be really handy if you have very dirty air, like if you were just sanding drywall or something like that. I'll turn that on so you can hear what that sounds like. The next thing on the front is the timer button. You can turn it to stay on at whatever speed you want for 1 hour, 4 hours, or 8 hours. At the end of that time, it will turn completely off. One of the things I don't love about this feature is that it will play its little song for turning off when it turns off. So I'll let you hear what the music sounds like here. I think this could be really inconvenient if you wanted to turn it on at a higher mode before bed and have it just turn off as you're sleeping. Who wants it playing a little song in the room? The next thing on the front is the filter indicator. This will let you know when it's time to change the filter. It doesn't actually measure whether the filter is clean or not, or dirty. It's really just measuring if it's been 12 months since the last time you've changed the HEPA filter. When you do change it, you can hit the reset button to let it know that you've changed the filter. It took me a while to figure out that the reset button is actually recessed, and you have to use a paper clip or a pin to press that button to get it to reset. The last thing on the front is the light sensor and the odor sensor. The light sensor is so it knows when to go into night mode because there's no light in the room, and the odor sensor is so it knows when to turn up the fan when it's in auto mode because there's an odor in the room. Let's talk about the cost of this filter. It costs about $130 to buy it initially, and the cost to replace the filters per year is about $45. When you buy the filters, you get a pack of 1 HEPA filter and 4 carbon filters. That's because the carbon filters are supposed to be replaced every 3 months, and the HEPA filter is supposed to be replaced every 12 months. So they sell it together in a package. Because the Winix filters are so popular, there are quite a few third-party filters that can be used in this one if you wanted to save a little money buying the off-branded filters. The pros and cons for this air purifier, I find that overall it has a lot of pros. A couple of the cons are, I don't really like that the lights are so bright on the front of it. If it's not running in the official night mode, it's very bright if you're trying to sleep with it in the room. And there's no way to run it in a higher fan setting and not have the lights on. The only way to stop the lights is to cover them up with some sort of black tape or something. So I don't really love that about it. I also don't like that it makes so many sounds, especially when it's turning off after the timer mode. I think that could just wake people up if they wanted to use it at night, which is one of the most common times to use an air purifier. Overall, the pros of this air purifier definitely outweigh the cons. It is built very well, it's inexpensive and not bad to maintain. The yearly filter costs are really reasonable compared to a lot of other brands. It's very easy to use. I really like the auto mode. Most of the time, I just turn on the auto mode and it goes into night mode at night and comes back into the auto mode during the day, and it goes up and down if it senses anything in the room. It's really easy to use. I would generally recommend this air purifier, but I'm not sure if it's the right one for your family. We have a couple different models in our family. With this being one of the least expensive Winix air purifiers, you might be wondering if spending a little bit more for the next model up is the right choice for you. So go check out my other video where I compared all of the most common Winix air purifier models so it can help you make the right decision for your family. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.